What's up, guys? Welcome back to today's video. Today, I'm going to be going over the top 5 most common teenager stereotypes. I'll be using studies to show real evidence. I'll be using my opinion as a teenager to determine whether or not these are actually true. Without further ado, let's get into stereotype number 1. Addicted to technology. Global studies have shown that 9 out of 10 people possess a phone by the age of 14. Coming from a teenager, it feels like 10 out of 10 because, let's be real, I don't think I know anyone who has never had a phone or doesn't have a phone right now. That doesn't include people who got it taken away because they didn't behave. Past the age of 13, I think everyone has a phone, or they've had a phone at one point. Studies on teenagers' screen time shows that teens have on average 4+ hours of screen time per day, non-school related, which is kind of a lot, but coming from me, I would kind of agree because a lot of teenagers spend time on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Sometimes you catch kids playing like Roblox on their phone, and that does add up on the screen time. So after all that, I think I can kind of say that the screen time one is probably true. I think most teens do have the option to be off their screens, but choose to be on it. Stereotype number 2, irrational and impulsive. Teens are usually talked about as risk takers. You know, they make bad decisions, their brains are still developing. That's like kind of understandable. I can get why a 25-year-old, let's say a 15-year-old, isn't as good as making decisions as them because they're just not as developed. My take, personally, is that teenagers are pushed to make decisions based on their environment and role models and just the people around them. They could make good decisions if they're raised right. If they're raised bad, their decisions are going to be bad. It doesn't even have to completely do with their brain, it's just how they're raised. So I kind of disagree with that, and I would say that it matters more on how they're raised. They could make better decisions than someone who is 25 and was raised bad, regardless of how much their brain is, matured. We are going to have to hit this one with a false, so that is 1 score for us teenagers. Stereotype number 3, lazy and unmotivated. So I looked at a study of 2 groups of teenagers, one from the 2000s and one from the 1970s. Now, in this study, it showed that the teenagers from the 2000s were more likely to work during summer and get a job and have higher GPAs than the kids from the 1970s, which is a good thing, right? Less laziness, they're working harder now than they were before. But I also think that's due to an increase in technology. In 2000s, they still didn't have that much, but it was better than the 1970s. It just makes it easier to study. So that's why I'd assume now it could be even better, but I didn't find a study. Another study that I looked at was teens are lazy as a sort of coping method. When they're given a task that requires hard work, like a project or homework, they would rather opt out and take the easy way. Some teens would kind of prefer an easy way out, which is like playing video games and getting wins in there to feel rewarding rather than doing their project and getting a good grade. Because getting the good grade feels better than winning a game, but it requires more work. That's why some kids would rather just play video games because it's easier and it's familiar than trying to work hard and get an A in their class. My take personally is that teenagers aren't just lazy. A lot of us actually work very hard to keep up good grades, and I know a ton of people in my grade who stress out about their assignments, their deadlines, and just overall, they worry about school a lot. And they are hard workers. I know a ton of people with extracurriculars that are working all the time, spending hours after school, before school. It's insane. There are a lot of hard workers, especially the guys on sports, cross country. You're just running every morning. That's some discipline. I think a lot of teenagers do struggle with balancing work and fun, or honestly just creating a schedule for themselves. They gotta work. I think we, especially myself, I've been working on this though, is I need to balance how much I work and how much I just have fun. Because a lot of the time I think I can do the thing, but I never push myself to actually accomplish it. And that thing could be an essay. I can write the essay, I wouldn't even do that bad. And I'm yeah, I'll get it done after this. But I end up doing it really late. And a lot of the time, it's those dumb assignments you get in class. I don't want to say dumb assignments because a lot of the assignments in class you get will help you. They don't help you in a very clear way. You get a math assignment and you're oh, well, I understand this. I'm going to just cheat on the assignment because I know how to do it. That's kind of not what you should be running. but that's kind of the teacher's fault for giving you an assignment on homework you understand. And like the reason I say that is because I'll get math assignments where I understand the material the day of, and then we get like 3 homework assignments on it. And that kind of just sucks. Like, why? I think that's a bad thing on the teacher. It builds discipline to do homework. That's the only way I can justify homework, is that it like builds a sense of discipline to like, oh, okay, I'm going to get this done then. I'm going to get that done then. It's just so that we're not doing nothing and we like have stuff going on. So that's why homework makes sense sometimes, especially in like language. You need homework so you can memorize the language. That's different. But I'm not memorizing these dumb math things. I think if my teachers give me too much homework, I'll just hate the subject, eventually end up forgetting it faster. That's like my take on us being lazy. I disagree. I think it's false. Stereotype number 4. Teens are self-centered and shallow. Studies show that a large number of teens are actually highly focused on their personal appearance and their social status. I'm going to have my take on this, which is that not all teens, but a good amount, some care about their personal appearance and social status, but no one obsesses over it. It's just something we keep in mind. Not that we're gonna like sit there and cry about. Past social status, I think a lot of teens, like most, do highly care about their physical appearance and how they look towards other people, just not their social status. They care about friends and their looks. I feel like those are the biggest things in this category. I don't think we're all like worried about our social status and the hierarchy of how things work around the school. That's just it's not there. Okay, this one I'm like 50-50 on it. I really don't know. I think both are just gonna get a point. Just like keep it tied, so it's all down to the last one. Stereotype 5. Irresponsible with money. Neurodevelopmental studies, such as those from the University of Pennsylvania, suggest that what adults perceive as financial irresponsibility is often a teen's natural instinct to explore and seek out new experiences. Teens with highly controlling parents often showed more of a hedonistic approach, focusing heavily on short-term gratification, which means they'd rather just feel the short-term rewards than focus on the long-term and saving their money for something like a bike. They'd rather just buy like a bag of chips. Neglectful parents usually have teens in the households with the lowest long-term perspective and poorest ability to control their spending. Basically meaning that they 100% would rather just buy chips when they get the money than a car. Save the money for a car, or like a bike, or a PC. Those kids with neglectful parents have the hardest time saving their money. And then kids or teens with balanced parents who set limits but allow them independence usually have the highest levels of financial conscience, because the parents are supervising, but they give the teen independability so that they have the chance to make those mistakes and learn while they're a kid under supervision, not just completely strict. You're not spending any money. It's like, here, you have this to spend. I'm going to watch. What are you going to do? I think this one is false, that all teenagers or most teenagers are irresponsible with money. I think it heavily depends on your parents, not the teen. So, false. That's going to be a wrap. That is all the 5 stereotypes that teenagers usually go under. This video is not made to offend anyone, just to pull facts that I found and then my take as a teenager. I do think that a lot of these stereotypes were false, of course, based on the results, but at the same time, I can understand why they're there. And I think a lot of how teens grow up and how they act is just based off their parents. A lot of the time you can't blame them, but who they were raised by? It is not always the case. Sometimes it's the teen, but a lot of the time it's how they're raised. So don't hate the player, hate the game. And also, drop a sub. I'm trying to hit 10K subs by the end of summer, so if you guys could help me out with that, that'd be amazing. That's all. Peace out. See y'all in the next one.